Okay. So we're missing Mark and David. David can't make it today. So the first thing we have is the review and approval of the minutes, and I think everybody got a copy of them. You want a minute, a little bit of time to look through them here? Haven't done that. I appreciate Brian putting these together. It looks good.
I was just wondering if you like this format based on our agenda rather than just kind of straightforward that.
I personally was fine with it. I reduced it down to 2 pages, but that was all I changed.
Oh, you did? You changed this a little bit?
Just changed the formatting so I could put it on 4 pieces instead of 2 pieces of paper.
Okay.
But otherwise, yeah, it was great.
With the headings and everything?
I thought it was good. I really liked it.
I'll keep doing it that way then.
Make a motion, we accept the minutes.
Got a motion, we have a second.
I'll second.
Second, okay.
I don't know if I can or not.
I think so. Any discussion? Everybody's not quite through them yet.
That's a long time back to remember what did go on.
I know.
Oh, yeah.
Okay, any discussion?
I've got a discussion. This is just probably for you taking notes. Some people like using last names. Is there a reason for using last name? I like using first names because we all are kind of on a first name basis, but is there a reason for using last names procedurally?
Yeah, typically I include the first name the first time around, and then as I repeat it, and if you do roll call at the top, you have everybody's first and last names, and then you can just call them by their
You
first
can
name
use
from there on
whichever.
out.
Okay.
But I think, because this is a public meeting, even though we know each other, it would be, and Steve, you can certainly weigh in, but I feel like we need to at least mention the last name, not assume that everybody knows last names, at least at the beginning of the minute.
At the beginning, but when I reference somebody making a motion or
First name's
something.
great, fine, after that.
So, call for a question, is that okay? I'm not sure we're supposed to do that. All those in favor signify by aye. Opposed, well, that's everybody. The minutes have been approved. And so I had a call, well, I called him Monday, Michael Schottner wasn't able to make it today. He had a conflict. We were gonna try to get someone else, but obviously he wasn't able to do that, so we'll try to get him another time. So we need to, I guess, go on from that. So our next item is our weed board funds. So the last meeting you approved the signing of the agreement with the Douglas Soil and Water. That has been done. I have a copy of it. And so does Douglas Soil and Water. Maggie printed out or had their bookkeeper print out everything that we had. I sent that to you here last night to look at. There's a printout. Well, I think I mentioned it in the email. It started. We got a balance sheet here too. But anyway, I guess Douglas Soil and Water started looking after the funds in 2001 and continued on until basically everything stopped with the pandemic. The last entry was 12/20/2019, and they have the balance sheet has a printout of everything on it. And we picked up $60 from the Hawthorne tour in donations, and that's deposited on there. So we have a balance right now of $2,529.91. So I don't know what more to say beyond that, I don't think at this time, unless somebody else has some other comments about it.
That's what we needed, so we can attach, I'll attach that to the minutes, and it will be on the.
All right. Good. We have those dollars to work with, like the Hawthorne tour took $300 and some for the, for the vans. So we will always have, I don't see us having any other expenses much beyond that, unless you guys think of things that we wanna talk about as time goes on.
The thing might be if we helped on the brochure or something.
Right.
You know, that way.
We can do, that can be done. Mostly educational oriented things, I think. All right. Unless you want to talk about it some more, I'd just like to go on if that's okay. All right. Don't do that to me. I always like ideas, people's thoughts. So, okay, so we're down to number 5, the English Hawthorne Tour Report. So, Rex was there, and so was, so Rex, help me if I get in trouble here. David was there too. So, it was back the end of May. We started out at the county park, Mildred County. Went over to Don Bailey's ranch, which is across the road, and we looked at some things he had done. Then we went to James and Hall and his wife Rachel's place, and we looked at what they had been doing there. Went back to the park. We had a couple of vans that the Extension Service provided. Shelby drove one, and a lot of you know Logan Bennett. He drove the other one. There were about 20 people. And I thought the discussions were probably maybe some of the best parts of it that happened. Oh, Brian, you were there. I'm sorry. I apologize. You were one of the main discussion people. We had folks talking about their experiences with Hawthorne Control. Some had a lot of experience, and there were a couple of people I talked to that own land actually there near the park that hadn't done anything with the Hawthorne. One guy in particular was really interested in what was being said. He was trying to figure out how he was going to deal with what he had. I thought one of the other things that came up, there was discussion on the need, Kerry kind of got this going, for folks that have noxious weed problems, that they need a budget. And so they can manage their expenses and figure out what they're going to spend on controlling weeds. And if you have that budget, and you also will look at treatment cost, that might affect what treatments you do. I thought that was an important thing to follow up, to talk about. And then we have the need for discussion of the need for follow-up treatments. A lot of folks don't do that, and you can still lose what you've done if you don't follow up. So I especially wanted to thank Brian, Carrie, Shelby, Logan Bennett, the Halls, Don, Zach DeMar, who wasn't there, and he actually got it going, and Allison Mainwaring was there, I believe, and she added some comments too. She's with one of the agencies.
U.S. Fish and Wildlife.
U.S. Fish and Wildlife, and Zach is with Farm. What is it? NRCS. So he set up. He actually got me going with some of the other folks that we visited there. Oh, I handed this out. Carrie.
Yeah, that what resulted was kind of a reformed page that Carrie did.
Carrie wanted this, and then Shelby is hoping to have this where she can get to it easily. We've given it to her. She gets quite a few. She had quite a few calls on English Hawthorne Control this year. So this is where Kerry took the discussions and everybody's control methods and put them all together. I thought one of the best comments during the whole tour was, I was talking about hack and squirt, and Brian goes, well, I tried hack and squirt, and I pulled my hand back after the hack and I lost my glove.
My glove was just shredded.
Just shredded.
Yeah, I'm not doing that again.
Yeah, just to jump in there, I thought it was very successful. Sure, I was pretty impressed, you know, that the grassroots of people who are affected by whatever it may be, you know, to that area, it obviously was this and everything, but I think that's the way that you reach out and get people involved is if they are affected, you know, if you're affected by gorse or brooms or anything like that, you know, it has more of an impact when you go to this, and these people were vastly interested in what to do there. And the one person that I wish would have been there is Burl Nelson, you know, who operates out in the valley there, and I haven't been to his place for a number of years, but I hear that he has had some success on battling it within his fence lines and everything and stuff. But so yeah, I was really appreciative of the tour and the enthusiasm that we saw there.
I appreciate everybody talking about their experiences trying to deal with it. You know, sometimes some people may not want to do that, but
I think it was very open conversation. Nobody had anything proprietary they were trying to hold back. Karen Robertson, she was the one who said her and her husband have that budget
right.
every year, take a different chunk of the field and just kind of go all the way through it, kind of a clockwork.
She added a lot to it. And anyway, most of those landowners talked a lot about it. All right. Okay. I want to just bring up, it actually goes into the following one a little bit, the planning sessions report, but our website, and I just throw this out for people to think about it. I think the website's really handy. I go to it pretty often and look up things. I'm not sure how many people are using it. I don't know if you've heard any reports.
I don't know, I think you've mentioned this and some of the rest of you mentioned it too, is you don't always find what you need. And I'm not sure how, there's kind of the how do I, where you just use the empty search box. And if you know what it is you're looking for, I mean, I just can type in noxious weeds and I'll pull up noxious weed board. And then from that page, I find it fairly easy to navigate from there. It's just getting to our weed board page. To me, that seems to be the biggest thing, is just finding a page. But it would be helpful to get feedback from people who are not accustomed to using it like me, and then know where you're looking for things and you can't find it, or that maybe there's missing some information. I think that we need more people looking at it, and even if we have to ask them, look for it, what do you like, what don't you like?
Okay, all right. That's what I was getting at is we take a look at, can we make it a little better, or does it work? I've had trouble getting into the P&W book, you know, and it's kind of, to me, it's not intuitive how you type in the name of the species you're looking for.
Mm-hmm.
I find it's worked a little bit better going to the one from UC Davis if I'm going to look at treatments and things like that.
I'm not sure there's too much, I mean, we have those listed on our list though for resources, right?
Yeah, they are. They're
Okay.
on the list. And yeah, that. And then one of the things I think we ought to think about is whether you and I talked about this at some point in time, we want to get, if you have the one on the tree of heaven.
Yes.
That was put out, if we have these for some of our 10 major species for farm and then for urban areas, that you could click on those. Just little things like that. That's all I'm throwing this out for.
This would be a good one to have on there as soon as we can.
Yeah, I think that's that one's really, I think.
Because it's specific to Douglas County too,
Yeah,
and the issues and
I wish we had, I'd like to see that for Scotch broom, or all the brooms, and for, Himalayan blackberry are the ones that I always worry about. And maybe some of the thistles too, the ranches. Okay, that was just a little discussion, I don't wanna, if anybody wanted to work on that, as a little subcommittee, do that.
the website.
Yeah, work on the website, work with Tracy and Tamara do that, do the website.
Well, I can look into it, I haven't really given it the time of day, to be honest. Be glad to get my feet wet and get into it
All right, thanks.
and see.
Didn't seem like it was that difficult to get into.
Once you've done it a couple times, it's pretty easy to get into. You know, there's a lot of information there.
Kinda like Amazon, we want it like Amazon so that you can't turn it off.
Hey, we could look at doing that, couldn't we?
I guess that's the other piece is, do people even know, are they aware that we have a website? How do we refer people to that website?
I don't think a lot of people do,
No.
so,
Yeah, unless they're already on the county site.
right.
I did notice when I went to look at the video of this, that we had like 16 views on our videos. So somebody's watching our board meetings. Thank you.
It's pretty exciting.
Okay, let's move on if that's okay. So the other, this ties into that, a couple of things here. The planning sessions report, I tried to summarize, does everybody have this? July 9th through the 12th, our little planning sessions that we had. So I tried to summarize what I picked up out of them. And if there was something that you wanted that I missed, please mention it so we can get it on here. So the one up north with Larry and David was rights of ways, noxious weed issues, and management is a priority. There was a lot of discussion about the old weed day and going through all of that. Continue to encourage educational programs and assist as our volunteer time allows. Meeting this, I think Brian and Mark, we were together one morning and invited a drone pesticide applicator and representative from the state to talk about the status of drone technology and application, discuss the status of aquatic weed issues in the county. Mark was concerned about wild oats, and we talked a little bit about that when we were down there in Canyonville with Jerry and Rex. Connect with DFPA for fire noxious weed issues and the FireWise program. Emphasize the need that if you're gonna take care of noxious weeds, you gotta be able to follow up with what you've done. And then Shelby proposed 3 education programs. And so she sent yesterday her a little bit more of her proposal, and I handed that out to everybody. I can't find mine. Here we go. She sent an email where she lists, she's actually listed 4. Right. Everybody see that? And she would like us to sponsor that. She's even talking about having them once or twice a year. So there would be opportunity for people to make one of them the first time to go again. 11 to 1 p.m. She's estimating a cost of $10, which would include lunch. Try to get 2 credit hours for each program. And I think this is good to work at, to take a look at. Rights of ways, precision agriculture and forestry, where it's not just drones, but we're looking at GIS, weed mapping, soil testing, virtual fencing. I'm not sure who the Salem guy is, but Lone Rock, that's gonna be Brian or.
That was in regards to drones.
Right.
There's actually a state drone advisory committee
Okay,
that's getting together to work through the issues. Colton is actually on that committee.
all right,
Because there's, regulatory issues, there's licensing issues, there's how it's brand new, there's a lot of issues. So, making it easier to get them in and get them, but we don't want just everybody out there using drones, spraying haphazardly, so. Anyway, so there's a state advisory, and they could come and talk about
that'd be good.
what some of the issues are.
The other one she has is, I think, ag and forestry. So she's listed some things there. And then aquatic weeds. And there's another program here on October the 10th, the OSU Pesticide Safety Education Program. So and the last thing on the list is the Umpqua Oaks Partnership. And I know I showed that to you in our other planning sessions. So it's Steve Denny and Eric Rowley are heading that up. This is just the non-native invasive part. There's a lot in here that pertains to what we're trying to do, I think. So, throw that out. Like the first one they have under strategy is work with OSU Extension, ODA, and Soil and Water Conservation Districts to develop and distribute management information and opportunities for land. Yeah.
If you've been in contact with Steve or Eric, and Lisa?
Only a little bit. I asked him if I could use this. He
Okay.
said we could. It's still a draft form of what they're doing.
Or I can contact them, I know both. Regarding their next public tour, public outreach, to maybe partner with them on a tour.
Okay.
Oaks and kind of be there as guiding them towards invasives and things. I think that would be a good cooperative tour, depending on how much outreach they're currently doing or trying to bring people into the program.
Right.
That I don't know.
I went on one of their tours, and the tour area almost burned up in this Dixonville fire. It was down there at Drew on the Cow Creek Tribe grounds.
Oh.
So that was pretty interesting. It's quite close to where the fire is. So, but I think that would be good if we could yeah. I'll talk to him, or if you want to talk to him, go ahead.
Either way.
Okay.
I talked to Eric earlier.
So we have this, what do you think we should do with it?
This meeting, this,
Well, that, I guess I'm talking more about the, planning,
sessions.
for this thing here. Our planning sessions. To be sure everybody has a chance to think about what was important to them. So Shelby's gonna, if we sponsor her program, I'll just throw this out, she'll cover a lot of this for us. But what we should do, is together, like on the rights of ways, I think that's a big deal, that we need to put more emphasis on that.
Right of ways are hard to revisit. Some of the agencies are more prone to dealing with it than others, and what do you do?
Actually, yeah, that was the one I was thinking that maybe I would, if we had another subcommittee or just wanted to get together for a meeting, I wouldn't mind having a discussion with whomever. At least I think I'm a good point of contact, but I can see, like you said, there's a lot of coordination, a lot of, how do we get this? But I think we need to have a stakeholder meeting with some of those groups and find out what are the roadblocks, what are the problems that we're having in order to get there.
Yeah.
Because you talk in the right of way, you've got lots of right of ways within the cities or towns.
Yeah.
Some of them deal with them, some of them, it's just out there.
And I know one of the things is the go-to a lot of times with rights of way, and we're trying to do some of this by going toward more equipment and doing some mowing, because there's resistance with using herbicide. And I think that's a lot of the pushback in the city, and but even countywide. And we mark those zones for the county. I'll just say that try to mark those, start and stop for the people that don't want it, but then your expectation is that adjacent landowner is gonna do something to manage that section so that we're not using the herbicide. And I think I can put this out there because I applied for this grant last year, but there is a grant opportunity to try to seek some funding for equipment. Of course, who knows whether we'll ever get that funding, but that would help us to do more mowing and get around some of that herbicide. There are just a lot of different factors, and the other thing too is just the staffing levels. We talked about that too, about the capacity that Douglas Soil and Water used to have. Now they have 2 people, so you need to have the staff to run the equipment too.
Or to manage the contractors that are doing that.
So I think there's a lot that we need to talk about. Well, what are those obstacles? What keeps us from doing that? And to get us all on the same page, like you said, why if the cities are not doing the same thing, why not? Is it just they don't have the staff, they don't have the budget, they don't know about the timing?
Some of it is all of it,
Could be.
the whole thing.
I like the idea, if you think we could get a lot of them together.
That's why I was thinking if you wanna have my involvement there, I would have some people that could reach out to
Okay.
that can at least identify what the issues are, and then it makes it pretty hard to solve if you don't know what their challenges are, directly hearing from them.
in my roundabouts, City of Drain does not have a licensed
Oh, spray.
applicator
Mhm.
that I know of, so, but no one goes to Drain, so they get by with it. The Yoncalla State Yard, that's responsible for a portion of state highways, has a program in place. I know there's other state yards that have a zone, milepost to milepost, whatever, so. There's some people to contact, that's for sure.
One of the things that always bothered me is trying to keep prune mostly or other noxious weeds off of the lands where I was managing, is that the highway departments or whatever, they would usually only treat, they had their zones. It was right along the edge. They were trying to protect their pavement from getting, and I understand, I mean, that's all good. You gotta deal with ditches, you gotta manage how you do that. But on these wider rights of ways, once they got out of that zone, there wasn't much that was done there. And that's where I saw a lot of the weeds that I was concerned about growing.
You bring up a good point about ditches too, because then DEQ comes into play. Brian probably knows this too. The 3-foot zone, and that's, just ditch waterways. If it's holding water, then there's a buffer of 3 feet. Well, 3 feet in a right of way can make a huge difference in what you can and can't do. And if you can't spray up to the ditch, why would you spray on the other side of it or use equipment? But yeah, we've got to keep those ditches clean, but you got to do it at the right time again. The timing can be a factor. You miss your window, you're done.
Yeah, and
And
the
you
windows
have
are
to
pretty
work-
small sometimes, aren't they?
Right, and you have to have the right permit if you're gonna work within that buffer. And the county does have that permit as of last year. Might have been earlier this year, but that was one of the things I worked on here, was getting the permit that would allow us to spray within those buffer zones, but maybe not everybody has those.
Would you be willing to go to a meeting, or if we put something together?
I would be willing to go.
I think the thing is to let the agencies know that it's an issue. They may already know that it's an issue, but the issue is they can easily spread invasive species.
So you'd have county, you'd have cities within the county. You'd have
State.
Pacific Power, you'd have Douglas Electric.
You could have some of the timber companies could be invited.
Yeah.
They would come.
All of them have some concern with access to their properties or their assets.
We actually had a successful partnership with BLM this year in our right-of-way spraying. Ryan, BLM, he was key in getting their side of things done. So we could actually spray broom.
That's good. Now the Forest Service.
BLM was the last meeting. So like BLM is ahead of the game, at least with their NEPA being approved. So Forest Service can't really wait, can't really do much until
They get theirs agreed.
she didn't really have a time.
The herbicide you're talking about, for list?
Yeah,
Yeah, because I think they both have a neat programmatic, but I don't know what they have for spraying. But the last I knew, yeah, Forest Service was trying to deal with BLM, and Brian was,
that'll be done.
Okay. So that, you're gonna try it, do you wanna do that?
yeah, I'll come
Dan,
up with
sometime?
a stakeholder list, and this would be under the heading of this group, not, me and my natural resources position, but me with this hat on for this board. But yeah, I'd like to have a stakeholder meeting and just find out. I don't wanna assume I know what their challenges are.
It's a good place to start.
There'd be a chance to send out, common information, make a right-of-way map that could be available, say, okay, this stretch is such and such management, this stretch is such and such management, and see if the agencies would be willing to have that public, so that somebody could go on our website and say, I'm seeing noxious weeds on this stretch of this highway, who has the maintenance on that? You'd end up with a bunch of Scotch broom calls though.
I don't know about the second part. The first part is doable as far as a GIS map. I'm pretty sure that's doable, that we could create such a thing that we could use as a tool within this group and what we're trying to do, as far as putting it out public and having
Or when
platform
somebody's
for
putting a plan together, you
links.
can say, okay, who has the rest of this stretch here?
That's where I think that might come back to a better tool for a group. And even we talked about Douglas Soil and Water and what their ability was before to help with some of the right-of-way treatment. If we can show this and have this for grant applications, then it could be a good tool. I like the idea of
So,
having a map.
Because it doesn't, because the right of way doesn't follow landowners necessarily. Even between us and BLM, we could, if we built the road, it's our maintenance, even though it's on BLM road, and vice versa.
Well, and
Brian, how does that, okay, they're better now with using the herbicides and stuff, but there for a while, how did that work? Where they had a moratorium against using some of the herbicides.
That was part of the NEPA program, process, was getting that, dialed in for specific purposes. And they were able to use more up-to-date chemicals, like Garlon. They were able to purchase their own chemical. We were able to use our contractor to actually do the application while we were doing ours, right alongside.
Surprisingly, some of the old, and I remember this from working at BLM years ago, that the approved herbicides, just one in particular, is more harmful than the ones that were not approved. And so that's part of getting.
Specifically, one you really don't want to use in forestry.
oh,
So,
where I work, we always had discussions of whether we wanted to brush the road out or whether we wanted to try to spray it. And there were lots of issues involved with, things, both of those decisions you had to make.
specific things, they had to go out and actually flag some, on their part, to meet their NEPA, they actually had to go out and flag some protected plants, make sure they were well marked and other things. Anyway, it was a good first step, and I think the willingness on the part of BLM and having somebody like Ryan who's pushing that agenda forward is a really good thing. And as much as we can encourage that kind of thing, there's probably in other right-of-way areas, there's probably individuals who want to do the right thing, but they feel like they're the black sheep in the organization, or they just don't get, they don't get the, not necessarily the recognition, but the way to go, that's a good thing, kind of a thing. It's like, well, do what you want to do, but leave us out of it is what I've seen from some state, city programs. Encourage that with the meetings like this, I think.
I think part of it too goes back to not, like you said, there's some people that may not have the license, there are a lot of people who just don't know. And so they resist doing anything, it's like you said, not getting acknowledged for the good work, but you sure get your hands slapped if you do something wrong. And I've run across that, especially with small cities where they just don't know what they can and can't do.
Mm-hmm.
All right, so that, we're gonna try to put a meeting together then. I appreciate you. That was good, the way what you wanted to do.
And
any
from
new-
that, sorry.
No, go ahead.
And from that, maybe that would, we'd be able to talk about something that Shelby's idea for the first class would be find out from the rights of way people, what kind of a class, are they needing a class? Find out what they need to do, what can they do?
So is there anything else on our planning sessions that you wanna, anybody here wants to push?
I will contact DFPA and find out about their Firewise program. I have to talk to them about some of that as it is. Not sure what the avenue would be to, they're not applicators that are going out there, they're seasonal or they're full-time DFPA employees over the winter doing Firewise brushing.
Right, and we had some of that in Camas Valley, they did an area, they got the part of it, a little bit of the valley, they had some local contractors going in and
Yeah.
pulling brush out with their excavators and stuff.
Was that DFPA?
With DFPA and Camas, yeah.
Okay.
But there's no follow-up to that program.
Not sure. Yeah, is that right? Is that what you?
I'm really thinking there isn't.
You're probably right, and so they're gonna have that brush issue again there in about 3 years.
Sounds like there's state money and there's also county money that they're using for Firewise program. There's the state Firewise program, but then the county has a program, I'm not sure exactly what it's called. Funding in the same, can come alongside.
I'm guessing it came out of the I'm not familiar with that, but I'm guessing it came out of emergency fund.
Mhm.
Yeah, okay.
So like the power company, they're on like a 6-year follow-up cycle. Give or take on that. So when they cut it out, they let it regrow, they spray it if they can. And then in 6 years plan on being back to do the same thing over again. And one could make an argument that if it's in the North County, it should be less than 6 years, and if it's out in Reedsport, it should definitely be less than 6 years. You know, but there's a follow-up to
Right.
do.
Another issue with that too, some of the Firewise or other weed treatment doing based on grant funding. And if you're not awarded the funding, you're not doing the work. And for an agency like Douglas Soil and Water, that's another thing too, they're grant supported. So, that was one of the things I was thinking about, Steve, after we were talking about is, well, what can we do? What can we do to support this? Like you said, a 6-year rotation is not great. To me, a 3-year makes more sense. Tree maintenance programs are a lot of times every 3 years. But they're lucky in a way that they can plan for a 6-year.
Yeah.
A lot of these proposals that are out there, and I think that's true with some of Ryan's things with BLM too, is so many things that we're doing now are grant dependent, and a lot of these are trickled down from the federal level. So trying to have the staff or to be competitive in this small county is very difficult to do. So I don't know what we can do to emphasize more. We're doing a great job by starting this board back up, and Douglas Soil and Water is back doing their thing, but whatever we can do to try to promote the need for noxious weeds at a level to try to help support that funding. We did have some ideas, but it's outside of this meeting.
Yeah, if you look at the amount of land in the county, it's really hard to keep on top of all those things.
It's a growing county. I mean, go to the other side of the mountains. Different scenario altogether.
Okay. All right, anything else? I've got new business down on here, we have a little time. That's what we've been talking about a lot here today
This is
already.
new business, yeah.
There's something else. So do we wanna, I guess we wanna call it?
You have anything else?
Yeah, something that Brian was saying earlier caught my attention and it just kind of clicked. It was something in our neighborhood there about regulatory on the drone activity. And I know we had a neighbor hired a drone to come in, and we have another neighbor who was driving down the road and got drift on his car because he was doing a fence sign, which is a good 20-25 feet off the road, but still he's turned my wipers on because of this drift that's coming in. He wasn't happy, so I think that.
I don't think I'd be happy.
I think that when we're looking at things, we realize that not everybody's on the same page on how they view things and everything, and we think we're doing a good job, and our neighbor thinks we ought to be arrested.
It's true. Careless applications, and we will have
Yeah,
stringent regulations.
yes, it could lead to that, and I don't think anybody wants, yeah.
Those don't go backwards. Once they're in place, you gotta deal with them.
The tree company works in Lane County as well as Douglas, and there's virtually no herbicide spraying in Lane County. Yet they work for at least a few, all the way up into Corvallis, where consumers power. There's very little herbicide spraying being applied up there. So maybe the time is coming. However, as a landowner, it's the single best thing I can spend my money on. You know, I can go out and mow, I can run a cat, I can do this kind of stuff, but spraying really is, for my time and money, it's the best tool I have.
Everything else is more labor intensive, and labor is the big cost.
It's more effective too over the long run. But anyway. All right, I think that's it then, if we're done.
Thank you for everything you put together.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Right here.
I don't know, you did a lot.
Very productive quarter.
Alright, so meeting adjourned?
Meeting adjourned.